Welcome back to the LFCMD. This is your Arsenal versus Liverpool post-match reaction. Now for this reaction, we're going to look at two things. We're going to look at the key moments of the game, which led to the 2-2 draw. And we're going to look at the key partnerships that are developing in Liverpool's starting 11 and how Arne Slot is going to improve Liverpool's team even more than we're already seeing currently. Now, this was a straightforward game. I think both teams wanted to be compact in the midfield and they wanted to exploit spaces in behind. Therefore, both teams targeted a lot the space in the wings and getting the runs to the byline, the runs in behind. So both teams ended up matching each other mostly in the midfield and trying to attack the spaces in the wide areas. And if you look at two of the goals from the game come from set pieces and two of the other goals come from balls in behind on the wingers. And if you look at the goals in the game, two of the goals come from those wide areas and two of the other goals come from the set pieces. So let's look at all of the four goals in the game as the key moments to show you where this game was being played and where this game could have been won or lost but ended up in a draw. A lot of people have been blaming Robertson for the first goal. I don't think Robertson is personally at fault. I think as a defender, as a left back in that situation, he did almost everything that you can do. And that goal highlights more the brilliance of Bukayo Saka and how when you leave a left back or a full back in general, isolated 1v1, most times if they're very good, they're gonna end up scoring. There was nothing much other than having support on that left wing that Robertson could have done. And if you look at the actual goal, at the actual sequence of the goal, Ben White plays that long ball to the wing, Salah dribbles, runs into the space, runs at Robertson, and in the end has the nerve to try and nutmeg to get back in so he can get the shot off. And if you try that maybe 5 times, probably 2 times he scores the goal and the other 3 times it's blocked, it's defended better. But I don't think Robertson can be judged just primarily on that goal. I think some of the goals that a team concedes shows the brilliance of the individual players playing in a team rather than how poor the defenders are. There's a lot of wingers that you know what they want to do. If you look at Arsenal's specific case, the history of Thierry Henry, a lot of players, a lot of defenders would tell you this is what Henry wants to do when he has the ball, but knowing it and defending it are two different things. So this goal for me goes down to the brilliance of Bukayo Saka and showing why the Arsenal's medical team went fighting tooth and nail, making sure that Bukayo Saka plays in this goal. And in the pre-match analysis, we spoke about not having Trent Alexander-Arnold isolated 1v1. Perhaps we should have spoken about Robertson not being isolated 1v1. Basically, in a game where you're playing against some of the best wingers in Europe, you don't want your fullbacks isolated 1v1. So that goal goes down to Arsenal's brilliance and Bukayo Saka's brilliance. But having spoken about how Arsenal is going to try to score the first goal and make it a difficult game in the pre-match analysis, it was good to see Liverpool bounce back and have the ability to penetrate Arsenal's defense. And a lot of people have been saying, no, Liverpool come back because of a set piece. But if you look at the build-up towards that set piece, it was from very intricate play around the box that ended up in a shot that the goalkeeper pushed out wide for a corner. And we end up scoring from that corner. And it's always good to see a team, especially your team, scoring in a corner or a set piece against Arsenal, because for the past 2 seasons, Arsenals have been the masters of the set pieces and they've been doing quite well in corners and free kicks, as you'll see with the next goal. But in this goal, Trent Alexander-Arnold plays a brilliant ball into the box. Luis Diaz has a flick on that maybe another day could have led to a goal itself, but Virgil van Dijk, the skipper, is there to nod it in. It was a brilliant goal, not only for the goal itself, but for what it meant for the game, and it changed the game and made it open again. So I think the tactics of this game from both managers were very good, because they didn't get ruined by Liverpool going 1-0 down. We came back and the game was played again. And inevitably, as it seems to be, Arsenal take back their lead with a set-piece goal from Moreno. I don't think there's too much negative analysis that we can have on Liverpool's defending on this set piece. Arsenal did what they always do this season in their set pieces. They start in those offside positions. Liverpool played that high line that we always seem to want to play, which is good because more often than not we catch people offside in that high line. We played that high line, the ball in was amazing, and it ended up at the back of the net. But if you look at the VAR review, you'll see how close how close Moreno was when the ball was being played to being offside. So Liverpool did almost everything that they could have done to defend that set piece, but Arsenal are just so amazing at set pieces this season and last season. So that made the game 2-1 to the Arsenal. Now, the final goal of the game, which for me was the most amazing goal in this particular game, shows the brilliance of three players. It shows the brilliance of Trent Alexander-Arnold, even though I don't think he had quite an amazing game going forward in terms of his playmaking and creating chances. I think he had an amazing game defensively. There were only a few times where he was 1v1 versus Martinelli, and he didn't really create too many chances from isolating Trent, and we'll talk about the brilliance of Konate and how he was helping Trent out. But going forward, Trent wasn't at his normal best for his high standard, but he was doing more of the defensive work. But in this final goal, we see Trent Alexander-Arnold finding that space, willing to break the lines with a long through ball, and finding, I thought at the initial moment he was trying to find Mo Salah, but the brilliance and the intelligence of Mo Salah and Darwin Núñez to recognize that Salah was offside at the time and letting Darwin Núñez be the one to get to that through ball, and Salah playing, making a run inwards to receive the cutback was amazing. And the understanding from Darwin Núñez of that interplay is also amazing, and that shows his growth and maturity from the past season. In fact, the past 2 seasons since he's been signed, we know Darwin Núñez and we love him for the chaos that he's causing. He's taking shots, he's running at people, but in this game we saw the maturity of Darwin Núñez, and I think him playing with Mo Salah has benefited him, and it is also now creating chances for both of them, and we love the maturity that we're now seeing from Darwin Núñez. It was a brilliant goal, but I would credit Trent with the assist if I were the Premier League, because that through ball was just amazing and it created that chance for Liverpool, and those were the key moments in the game. But now I want us to look at the key partnerships that I think from this game we can conclude are developing in Liverpool, and that's the next phase that Arne Slot is taking Liverpool towards, and we're going to see Liverpool get even stronger from those key partnerships. The first key partnership that I'm interested in is the partnership between Konate and Trent in defending that half space in between them. I think Konate is one of the most underrated defenders in Europe at the moment. Not by Liverpool fans. I think Liverpool fans understand how strong he's been and how great he's been with Virgil van Dijk. But I think in covering for Trent, especially as soon as Arne Slot came in, I think we've seen him take more of a solid role in covering for Trent. Even if you look at the goal that we just spoke about, the final goal of the game, it comes from a protective tackle made by Konate, supporting Trent Alexander-Arnold, winning the ball back, giving it to Trent, and Trent then going forward. And we've seen in the past with Jurgen Klopp, the support for Trent Alexander-Arnold usually came from midfield. But with the double pivot that Arne Slot is deploying, we see now that the support is coming more from the right centre back, which is Konate, and he's doing an amazing job. I think we shouldn't overlook, however, the progress that Trent himself is showing. At the beginning of the season, we had quotes from Trent where he spoke to Arne Slot and he asked him basically to make him one of the most feared defenders in the Premier League, if not in Europe. And we can say from Liverpool's defensive record right now that Trent is doing much better defensively, and the team itself is playing in a way that supports and makes sure that he's always covered. And going into games, especially against wingers that are tricky, that are fast, a lot of Liverpool fans might have slight concerns for Trent and his isolation. But with Konate there to support this season, Konate has been doing an amazing job supporting Trent, but also his partnership with Virgil van Dijk, which we'll speak about later. Another of the key partnerships that I'm recently seeing blossoming, maybe fortunately because of Jota's injury, which a lot of us would have preferred Jota to be playing and to be fit. But the relationship between Núñez and Salah has, especially in the past 2 games, seems to be growing and seems to show an understanding between the two and a maturity between the two that we didn't see in the past few seasons. Now with Salah has been amazing, always has been amazing, has never had a bad season for Liverpool in the normal standards. He's had better seasons in his own standard, but Salah has been great. But I think playing with Darwin Núñez, we see now Darwin Núñez looking to do more footballer things rather than just being an out-and-out striker that's just running at people and just shooting from everywhere. Even though when he does shoot this season as well, we've seen he's a bit more accurate than previous seasons. But I think the interplay, the passes between each other and the playmaking between each other, Salah and Darwin Núñez is a key partnership that we must look out for. And I think at the time where he came in at the place of Jota to fill in the shoes of Jota, because it seems from the beginning of the season that Arne Slot preferred Jota, and we all love Jota because he's an amazing finisher. He is also an amazing footballer in his interplay, dropping deep, going forward. He's just amazing. But I think when Jota is fit, we're gonna see a bit of a headache for Arne Slot on whether he drops Núñez, who's doing quite well without scoring a lot of goals, but is doing quite well in playing with Salah and the creativity between the two. Another of the partnerships that I want to speak about is a bit more obvious, but the partnership between Gravenberch and McAllister has seemed profitable for Liverpool this season, and everybody's talking about it. But I think it's interesting to see not only highlighting what Gravenberch is doing, but I think what Gravenberch is doing is supported a lot by the sacrificial role that McAllister is doing. McAllister is one of those players in a game that you don't remember what they did in a game, and a lot of people might accuse them of disappearing, but McAllister, you don't remember what he was doing because he was just doing his job. Nothing flamboyant. He kept the game ticking, controlling the game, not necessarily in a playmaker kind of way, but in what was called the register role. Somebody who's just making sure the passes are flowing, making sure that the creative players have the space and get the passes as soon as possible. But the relationship between them, especially used in the double pivot, we've seen that sometimes McAllister drops back to play in the deep 6 and Gravenberch plays in the 8, making those 10s that show his awareness on the ball, making those elegant runs into midfield and creating space and passes for the attackers. But we've also seen in the past 2 games that Arne Slot is not afraid of switching it around and letting Gravenberch play more of the deeper role and let McAllister do a bit more of the running forward and show a bit more of the creativity. So I think the relationship between those two is going to be key for Liverpool, and it's going to be more interesting in where Curtis Jones, who I believe for the past 2 games has played amazingly, to see where he fits in, because in this game he was playing in the Szoboszlai position in the number 10, but we've seen in the Leipzig game he was playing instead of McAllister. So it's going to be interesting to see who nails down the number 10 position, whether it's going to be Curtis Jones or whether it's going to be Szoboszlai. And the last partnership I want us to look at is the relationship between Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahima Konate. I think a lot of people have been talking, especially in the previous season, about the relationship between Saliba and Gabriel and speaking about how they're the best defense in Europe. But I think this season, Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahima Konate are giving them a run for their money, if not winning that competition, because they've been solid not only in the Premier League. The amount of clean sheets, the goals conceded is a bit less, and of course at the moment we don't see we didn't get to see Saliba play with Gabriel because of the suspension and now because of the injury. But I think this season, looking at the numbers and looking at the eye test, you can definitely say that Ibrahima Konate and Virgil van Dijk are probably the best defensive pair in Europe at the moment. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for the next pre-match preview between Liverpool and Brighton, and another one between Liverpool and Brighton again. So we play Brighton twice. In a row. We play them in the EFL Cup and we play them in the Premier League.